Well, hello again from Newcastle United's training ground. I thought I'd just give you a little quick glimpse of the indoor barn over my shoulder there. We'll have a wander outside because there's a hell of a lot to catch up on today on the back of Eddie Howe's press conference here. A lot of news items to pick through and we'll speak about them in just a second. Okay, so here we go. It's a glorious day up here, by the way. Newcastle will be training in about 10 minutes time, just over my shoulder there. I'll give you a quick glimpse of the Tyneside sun and the training pictures behind me there. Yeah, it looks wonderful. Now, what wasn't wonderful was some of the news to come from today's press conference, and primarily concerning Harvey Barnes. Now, like I said, there's a lot to pick through here. We, at the end of that, us journalists get together, we talk about what is the best line, we refer to it, what are you going to lead your stuff on. There was two stories competing there, and it concerns two summer signings, Harvey Barnes and Lewis Hall. We'll get to Lewis Hall in just a second, but I think the news on Barnes is extremely significant. Now, last weekend, we got word going down to Spurs that Barnes was one of four players who were nearing a return, including Callum Wilson, Sean Longstaff, who came back on the bench, and Dan Burn, who was also on the bench against Milan on Wednesday. Now, Barnes disappeared from that, and there was talk that he'd suffered some sort of setback. Well, Eddie Howe was pressed on that today, and Howe confirmed, yes, it is a setback to a degree. Now, the specifics of it: Barnes to go back to the game at Sheffield United, and I think it was end of September, start of October time. He suffered a foot injury. It was decided then that he didn't need surgery. Now, with the expectation that he would return around about now, December time. That was on course. We thought he was going to be on the bench down at Spurs. When he wasn't, it led to the question today. And Barnes, yes, has suffered a, quote, a setback to a degree, was what Eddie Howe said. Now, he used the phrase, and this was as the train rattles past there, and this was telling. Eddie said, unfortunately, he didn't have surgery at the time, meaning that if he had had surgery, I think they would have had a better idea in terms of what the time frame was, because he didn't have surgery, and because he's come back now and he still feels the pain in his toe, in his foot, surgery is an option, which in effect would put Newcastle and Barnes back to square one. They're still hoping that's not the case and that he is able to return, but if he does have to have an operation, I would say you could be looking at Harvey Barnes' season, or the bulk of his season, potentially being over. And what a blow that would be, given that Anthony Gordon has been tremendous. Of course he has been. He replaced Barnes at Sheffield United. He's never looked back from then. He's put himself, for me, on the brink of an England call-up. But in the last couple, has he started to tire just a little? Yes. Has he still been playing well? Yes. But he came off on Wednesday night, and this is the first time Gordon has done this. Gordon came off complaining of a tight hamstring. He's a doubt for tomorrow against Fulham, by the way. So just when you thought Barnes was going to come back and alleviate some of that burden on Gordon, it looks as if now Newcastle are going to be without him for the foreseeable. Eddie did say it, there's a chance he could be back before the end of January, and I think that is the hope, that this pain does clear up. But nonetheless, it is a big setback. You cannot get away from that. Other word on injuries, just quickly. Kieran Trippier, of course, is suspended against Fulham tomorrow anyway. He's nursing one or two knocks. Gordon, it sounds as if he will be okay, but nonetheless, a doubt remains. Martin Dubravka's story, reported by Mail Sport, has been suffering with illness, but looks like he should be okay. Howe said that he picked up a bit of the bug himself, and a few of the guys were affected by that. Other than that, it doesn't look as if anyone else will be back tomorrow for the game, other than Dan Burn might perhaps come in at left back. Of course, he came off the bench on Wednesday. He might come in at left back. Tino Livramento might switch to right back. Now, you might ask the question, why wouldn't Lewis Hall come in at left back? A player who we thought Newcastle had committed £28 million to in the summer, with an obligation to buy from Chelsea when they brought him in on loan. But so far, he's only been seen this season 6 times, 4 starts. 3 of those starts he came off at half time. The other one down at Man United, he did very well, scored a great goal in the League Cup. But it's led to questions, and a question that was asked this morning over Lewis Hall's future at the club and his role in the squad going forward. And Eddie Howe was asked directly, will Lewis Hall still be a Newcastle player next season? And he was unable to answer that. He said there are criteria has to be met. He doesn't know if they've been met yet. And then I followed up by saying, what do you see? Do you see sort of a long-term future for him here? He said, well, he's a Newcastle player now, but he was unable to answer that question. You're asking the wrong person. He then did go on to speak about the potential of Hall, what they see him as a player. A very good attacking fullback with wonderful technical abilities. I must say, when I've seen him play at Chelsea previously, I thought he'd done very well, really impressed by him. I thought on the last day of last season, he was Chelsea's best player against Newcastle. I can see why they brought him in. Has he looked fantastic for Newcastle, that Manchester United game apart? Well, no, he hasn't. And there's probably been a reason why he's been brought off at half-time in 3 games, and Howe hinted at that, saying it's something they need to work on with him defensively. And, he's only just turned 19. He's a player who has spent most of his youth career in midfield, recently moved to left-back, and Eddie made that point as well. Nonetheless, it's a story. Us guys are going to be writing about this. That something we thought was absolutely certain to happen, Lewis Hall staying at Newcastle next season, and the guidance we've got is the expectation is that will be the case. He still will be here, but nonetheless, it's brought it into question, and does just make you think back to why hasn't he been used more? There's been times amid an injury crisis, you would have thought a player they value at 28 to 35 million pound. Why hasn't he played more? He's only come off the bench once recently. That was down at Spurs when the game was gone. So yeah, I think there were valid questions to ask, and we didn't really get concrete answers. So that is where we're at on Lewis Hall. Like we say, still expecting to be here next season, but you would say so far, 4 or 5 months into the loan, it probably hasn't quite gone as everyone would have expected. Now, on the subject of loanees, Yankuba Minteh, who is playing very well out in Holland for Feyenoord, scored his first Champions League goal in the week. There isn't a recall clause in his contract. We were led to believe at the start of the season, and Eddie was asked about this, that recall clauses existed in all loanee contracts. That was certainly my understanding when I asked the question elsewhere. Now, he's confirmed today for the first time there's no clause. If they wanted to bring Minteh back from Feyenoord, they would have to strike a deal with the player and with the club, which seems, I don't know, that doesn't seem like great business to me. If you've almost got to buy back your own player, some sort of financial deal, I don't know. And would Minteh boost the bench at the moment? Yeah, he probably would, well, undoubtedly he would. He's got to be better than some of the younger players they've had on there. The other side of the coin is he better himself, his development, staying in Holland, where he's, by all accounts, having a very good season? Probably yes. So I think that he will remain. I don't think Newcastle have got much choice in that matter. It also could depend on the injury situation going into January. But the news on Barnes, why wouldn't they, if that clause did exist, why wouldn't they bring him back if he's going to be in and around the first team? And I just think that, to me, seems like a little bit of an oversight on the part of the club to not have that clause in there for their own player. Now, what else was spoken about this morning? Eddie was, I don't use the word prickly, but he wanted to make the point, and he was asked directly about the fallout of Wednesday night's game, and he referred to the external negativity and how they can't allow that to permeate the squad. On the inside they were very positive, and I get that. He was asked about the old Kevin Keegan quote, how there's 35,000 managers in the stands at St James's, all got a tactical opinion, and his response was, well, I think there's a few in here too. And he had a little bit of a scan around the room. Now, I don't know if Eddie watches this channel. If he does, please, Eddie, hit like and subscribe. And you know what I think of Eddie Howe. Anyone or any organisation, TV, radio, whatever it is, who's called into question him and his future this week. I don't know if that does exist, I don't know. That's absolute nonsense. I was asked a question on the Daily Mail, It's All Kicking Off podcast yesterday, about Howe, and enormous reserves of goodwill in the bank. As I've said, there's only one Eddie more popular on Tyneside right now, and that's Eddie the Elf with all of our children. No, Eddie is fine. Eddie is brilliant, but it doesn't mean you can't analyse Wednesday night and why it went wrong. And as I said, I won't shy away from what I said. I thought for 1 hour it was brilliant. It was everything it had to be, everything it should have been. They were in control. They had the prize in their hands. That is the frustration, that at 1-0 they weren't able to control and see out the game. Now, what happened after that in terms of the final half hour? They've conceded the goal to make it 1-1. I've got no problem with them chasing the win to get back into the Champions League positions. No problem whatsoever. The fact that they've missed out as a result and they've slipped out of Europe altogether, okay, it's a blow, but you can't have a go because of that. No, more the point is that given the results in Germany at the time and the position they put themselves in through playing very well, just quite why they couldn't see that out, I'd say that was more the frustration and more the word criticism. Now, what do we expect at home to Fulham tomorrow? Well, say it again, I expect them to go and beat them. 6 wins on the spin now at St James's Park. players, fans, everything has been working perfectly together in unison, really. I think the atmosphere was absolutely tremendous on Wednesday night. I think the players fed off that, and the fans fed off the players as well. So I fully expect them, even though Fulham are in form, I fully expect Newcastle to respond. But it goes back to the point I've made previously. The real response will be when they start marrying performances at home and away. And now, and this was a question again, I debated this with Chris Sutton and my colleague Ian Ladyman on the Mail It's All Kicking Off podcast. I'll put a link to that in the description below. Are Newcastle better off out of the Europa League? Now, I used the phrase, and one or two of my colleagues mentioned this morning, how many of us were thinking with our passports when we wanted Newcastle in the Europa League. That's true. I honestly think, and Ian Ladyman said Newcastle are better off out. Chris Sutton said, where's the romance? He said, how negative is that? Why on earth would you not want to be in the Europa League? Well, for me, and Ian agreed, the priority for Newcastle, once you're in the Champions League, you've got to stay in the Champions League. That's what allows you to spend the money. That's what puts you right up there as one of the very best clubs, which Newcastle want to be. For me now, not being in the Europa League, I think gives them a better chance of recovering and getting in the top 4, potentially top 5, depending on that coefficient. So, to answer the question, and I'm not saying this is 100%, but if you're asking for a percentage, I would say it sides in favour of perhaps it being better for Newcastle longer term that they're not in the Europa League in the second half of this season, especially now, given the news about Harvey Barnes, and something I forgot there, Joe Willock as well, won't be seen until January. His Achilles injury is becoming a real worry, given how important he is as well. He's had more injections in his Achilles. Like I say, won't be seen until next month. But given he came back and this has happened, what's to say it won't happen again? And I just think Willock's season now is descending into a little bit of I was going to say write-off, but it's descending into a really frustrating season by him, given how good we all know he is, and how big an impact he makes on the team. Someone who does cover so much ground, and don't underestimate what Willock brings to the side, and teammates as well speak so highly of him. I always think that's really telling. So, in a roundabout the houses way, I've got sidetracked with Willock there, but to the question on the Europa League, listen, it's academic now anyway. They've got to make the best of the situation they're in, and that was the message Eddie had there today, and that has got to start with now a run of huge fixtures this next week. The 3 of them, Chelsea as well, the League Cup on Tuesday. But fundamentally for me, it's got to be the league form. They've got to maintain it at home and address the away form, because yes, the top 4 looks difficult this year with Aston Villa the way they are, with Tottenham as well. I don't think Tottenham is great as people make out, but certainly the top 3, Villa, Liverpool and Man City, I think are nailed on. So perhaps you're only playing for one remaining place. So yeah, that for me now has got to be the absolute priority, and I think internally Eddie Howe would go along with that as well. So yeah, guys, I've talked for 10-12 minutes non-stop there, because there was an awful lot to unpick, like I said at the top. So we'll have a little wander down, just one last scan of these glorious training pitches, where probably about 8 or 9 Newcastle players will be out there later today. So yeah, click on the links below. Like I said, plenty of coverage at the Mail, and I'll be at the Fulham game tomorrow, talking to you guys afterwards in about 24 hours time, reflecting on like I say, it's never dull here, as I'm expecting another event-filled afternoon. So there you go, guys. Thanks again for watching. Take care. See you soon. Bye bye.